As always, just doing a little sound check. Testing. I think we can get on with the show here. Testing the volume of the vocal. Alright, let's get on with it. We got black bean burgers coming up. There won't be a second camera today. We're just going to keep this real simple for everybody. Ooh, I won't forget to bring up the chat now and see what's going on there. So we got, so the only before prep I did is that on all the recipes for black bean burgers, they were all using canned black beans, and I was really interested what you'd have to do to prepare it from dried black beans. I think this is a better way than cans, just use your beans dry, but we're going to see how convenient that is for everybody, how well it works out. I was thinking instead of putting them in the oven to dry them out, that I would probably like just steam them in the pan for a couple minutes until I can mush them up. Let's see, I'll bring up the chat and then I'll be able to wash my hands. That's how we'll start the show. Hey Ash Artful, good to see ya. Want this over up on the side, and then the chat. Wonderful. Alright, so a little wishy-washy with the hands. So, one of the things that we gotta do is that we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fry up some French fries. And I'm gonna have a disclaimer that this is one of those episodes where you can burn your house down. So don't set a whole pot of oil on fire. Don't overheat it. The rest is on you. So I was also going to see with this black bean recipe, I was going to see, since you have to dry out the black beans anyway, I was going to do a little test to see if you can just rinse and then cook the black bean, like with a quick steam. And that's probably going to be a project that fails, but this was still going to be experimenting a bit on the show. I thought we were going to get it down to an exact science, but there's still too much different variables to try. We got some good stuff going. Okay, so I got some peanut oil that I'm going to use for my pot here. I got a stainless steel pot, and we're going to use that for frying our potatoes. I'm going to get a couple russet potatoes out. Hello, Schmuckums. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. We got black bean burgers that we're making tonight. Let's see, I need to go get that peanut oil. I'm still going to do the measurement thing for everybody. I was eyeballing it, but now I'm going to make sure I actually make it easier for everyone to be able to replicate my results. We're going to be following more of an exact recipe, seeing how that goes tonight. Oh, I'll be able to link all the recipes in the chat. I'll do that in just a minute. Let's see, I want that. So, in a lot of recipes, this will probably say fill up the pot up a couple of inches with oil. We're going to shoot for 4 cups or 1 quart of oil total. Alright, and that got about an inch here in the pan. This also, as this rises in temperature, it's going to expand. So we are going to get out a thermometer here so we can know the temperature. Now you can't do this with one of the smaller thermometers. Those would they only go up to about 110 degrees. You need a thermometer that can go up to 400, and it would be better if it can go up to 600 degrees. This one goes up to 550. Also has a little clip here. One of these, if you're searching it, it might be called a candy thermometer. Is another one that it might be called. So we're looking. Now you can just move this and it's adjustable. Get your oil. Right in there. Turn to dial. Wonderful. Alright, and then we're going to get our potatoes going. So if you're ever reading a recipe and it says something like use 2 pounds of potatoes, for example, this recipe here says 2.5 pounds of potatoes. For the French fries, you can look at the bag and it'll tell you how many pounds it is. So if you need 2.5 pounds, that would be half of this bag. So how many potatoes are there total? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13, so there would be, you could do, it's an odd number, so we can say 6 potatoes. Now this will make French fries of all sizes here. We're going to go ahead and rinse them off to give them a quick scrubbing. I believe I'll make sure to do another sound check as well, because always it tricks me. Last time I did a sound check, the music was going, and then all of a sudden I opened up the second camera and all the music died. The music still featured by Black Malachi. So I have this coming up at 4. We're going for 300 degrees because we're going to blanch our French fries first. Looks like that's just fine. I'm going to go ahead and fan out my recipes I'm working on. Alright, so this one, these beans that I had soaking here, we're going to use this to make just one vegan patty later on in the show. And then we're going to make the vegetarian black bean burgers with black beans from a can. We'll just go ahead and follow the recipe to a T and cook them in the oven at 325 degrees. So we are going to have to heat our oven to 325, and this is going to be for the black beans to slightly cook them on a sheet. This is going to be the protein part of the black bean burger. And then let's see, the other vegetables we're using is half a bell pepper, half of a large onion or just one medium-sized onion, 3 cloves of garlic, and an additional half teaspoon of garlic powder, chili powder 1 teaspoon, and then you can do a couple different types of mixes. You can use Worcestershire sauce, you can use 2 tablespoons of ketchup or barbecue sauce or mayo. There's a couple of things, but it's the binder. And then the big difference on the binder for the vegetarian one is that you're able to use an egg binder. The vegan ones we're going to have to use, I think we're going to go with, I believe it's a breadcrumb binder. And more barbecue sauce is probably how we're going to figure that one out. So I'm going to get my potatoes to scrub in cold water here. I need to get them really nice and clean because I want to go ahead and leave the skin on for these potatoes. And that will give the French fries a nice, help give it a nice texture. So you're really going to want to give them a nice scrub. And then just also another note, if you're not used to oil, cooking with this much oil, it's important not to get water over here by it because you'll cause it to bubble up. If you're really on the more paranoid side of cooking with oil, just make sure you have one of those little grated covers for it. It keeps the oil from popping up. I'm not quite sure what that is called though. If you put a lid on it, it's going to start rapidly increasing in temperature. So so just be careful with that, because the higher temperature the oil it is, the closer it comes to its combustion, which means fire. Okay, so I'm also going to get out a bowl where I can put in my sliced potatoes. This is going to stop the oxidation process of the potatoes. And it is also going to remove a little bit of the starchiness of the potatoes. You know what else doesn't mix besides oil and water? Kitchens and computers. I wonder when I'll have a catastrophe with all this water next to a computer. There's been some cool stuff where people just use their phones. Let's see. Potatoes, a little bit more scrubbing. Some people never will cook with the oil. Some people will end up cooking just with the air fryer, which is fine. Because the thing is too is that we still have to do something with this oil after we're done cooking with it. We can't just dump the oil down the sink. So some people in smaller apartments don't have the covered space to be able to put their oil up. If they have an oil pot that they use a couple times. Like I keep a little fryer right up here, and I use the oil a couple different times. This we're going to be blanching the French fries, which is going to be the first water. It's going to have more water involved. And ooh, I need to make sure I actually have the right utensil to be able to scoop these out. So I got a lot of plastic, but I need a metal strainer. Because this will not work. No, it will not. Okay, so our oil is at 150 degrees. 145 right now. Still waiting. Alright, let's get our potatoes over here. And I have a kitchen towel that I want to use here. I'm going to go ahead and just dry these potatoes off. And then when I get a little bit better, at cooking, I'll be able to tell you exactly what the type of slice we're going to use for this is. I want to say it's Juliet, but I'm not sure. So we're going to cut it in half. And we're going to just quarter it again. Let's see how that's not in the shot. There we go. Little quick rinse of the hands here. Now that was our oven preheating, so we're going to go ahead and grab our black beans out real quick too. Alright, got our black beans here. I'm going to go ahead and mute the microphone here for a second while this is going. Alright, got both those black beans opened, and I need a couple of trays. So I'm going to take a non-stick tray. I believe a couple variations of this recipe that I was looking at was talking about how you can use parchment for this process as well. So I'm just going to make sure it's kind of like just a single layer of beans all the way through. And let's see, this needs to cook for about 15 minutes until it's slightly dried out. So I already can tell that you'll want to make these in batches if you can. You can freeze these black bean burgers, but this is definitely going to do a dirty number on this pan. Meaning that it's probably going to be interesting to clean it. A little bit of rinsey-rinsies of the hand. Okay, our oil is still coming up to temperature, which is good because we still have to cut some of these potatoes. So right now they're in wedges, and then I'm going to finish. And now you'll have a home-cut French fry. And then on some, if this is something that you don't, these are tasty for me. But you can just cut, you could finish squaring it off. If you have a picky eater in the house. I'm looking for 1/4 inch thickness, and then after I have some cut, I'm going to move them into the water, and that'll stop the oxidation process, and it'll take a little starchiness out of the water. So I cut it in half, and then I 1/4 it, and then I work from there. Always having, ooh, that's a nice thick fry. That'll be nice and juicy. Some nice thick fries out of that. So I was messing around with some of my camera settings, and I realized I found an easy upgrade to the stream. I was like, no way. Oh, look, I halved it instead of 1/4'd it. I was like, no way. My camera has only been shooting in 720. I have this whole 1080 experience. I can still bring the audience. Huzzah! You mean my food can look even better and I don't have to get better? Tell me more. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun cooking for people though. This is a whole different type of cooking for people. Lots of first times here on the show too. 13th episode. Still going strong. I tried, I think it was not the last episode, but the episode before that, episode 11. I was really starting to mix scenes, having the receipt inside the show slides. That was pretty cool. These ones I have printed off, again advertising that physical medium. Last show we had a little bit of a different show where we talked about some cookbooks and we went over recipes. I just talked to the chat mostly for a little bit. The show was very chat driven. Good chat though. Yeah, Lucky 13. And then I had when I did that biscuit episode, that was a Friday the 13th episode. Yeah, on the behind the counter episode, I was laughing about how I haven't had the best luck with my Friday shows. I've had more shows than not have landed on a weird Friday. And I had my schedule totally flip-flopped. I went from morning crew to graveyard crew. So it took me a minute to figure out how to make the show still work. 6:30. Because now instead of coming to the end of my day and cooking, I'm gonna cook, and then I gotta run to work. And potatoes are really easy to cut. Great first start practicing. Oh, there was something else that was good to practice too. Oh, I was thinking that buying the pre-made dough cookies is probably, if you've never baked cookies before, it's probably good to start with one of those. And what was another one? I did want to say that you should grate your own cheese. That really helps with the cheese cost of cheese not being too pricey. There's another one though. There was another one. So yeah, still doing the show every Friday night. Now it's crunch time. I have to go for it. Alright, oil is at 250. Oh yeah, the start of my day and do some breakfast food. That's with the diners, I haven't pulled out the big guns yet. I've been doing all sorts of other stuff on the cooking, but the breakfast flair is actually my specialty. Of that breakfast morning food, that's where I'm really going to shine. So when I start running out of ideas, you'll know when. But we'll do a good breakfast shows. So I'm going to let these soak for a couple minutes. I'll go ahead and rinse out my cans. You'll hear me say on the show all the time, clean as you go, sign of a pro. Now let's see, I need to put about 10 more minutes for the black beans in the oven there, and let's start putting the rest of this recipe together. So I have the onion here, and then 2 large eggs, 2 tablespoons. We need the barbecue sauce. Let's see, where's more? There's no good place to be had. Oh, there's the best place for it. Bam, okay. Barbecue. 2 large eggs. Let's go ahead and get all our seasonings put together real quick for this. I do need to saute the onion. Let's cut the onion first then. This isn't the onion I want to use for this. We'll put that back. Got a nice new one. is I actually just run a slice through real quick. Makes it really easy to peel out the outer layer here. And again, just cut it out again. Makes it really, again, really easy to peel. I'll sound like a broken record, but I always like to explain that I stabilize my cutting board here with a towel, and I am cutting my onion on a separate cutting board. That way the onion flavor doesn't leach into everything. So this needs a little bit of a finer chop, so I'm really going to get in close with my first pass. I'm going to go ahead and do that to this one too. If you're practicing prep work, what I just did here, put that aside and do the exact same motion, is one way that you can practice repeating motion over and over and over again, getting the same one. Now I'm going to cut across again, and I'm going to be practicing a different. Once I get down here, I can turn it, pull that back again. Now this is considered, this root right here is the dirtiest part of the onion, so I would point out that I just push my onion into the dirty part of the onion. Also, that onion root you can regrow. You put it into some water, so you can start growing your own onions, or you can see what it takes to grow your own onions real quick. You don't have to go buy seeds. It doesn't have to be planned. You can just decide one day, like, hey, I want to plant this root. Alright, I'll do probably one more pass on that, and then we have our oil exactly at 300 degrees, so now we need to start paying attention to that to make sure we don't go above. So I'm actually going to turn this down, and I'm going to make sure it's not too hot, and I'm going to pull it a little bit farther back. The heat's being evenly distributed because of the oil. This whole pot is going to get hot the longer that this is going on. So it's actually it's going above my 300 degree temperature, so I'm going to back off on the heat a little bit there. Now I got my onions, I want to go ahead and get my pepper. I'm going to go ahead and use half of an orange pepper here. I'm going to rinse off the vegetable first. And also I need to get my little saute pan here ready. We'll dry that off here. We'll move our onions aside. We're going to give those a little bit of another pass here in a little bit. We're going to go ahead and drain these potatoes real quick. And I'm going to rinse the blade off. This is the nice thing about being able to work in your own kitchen is that you don't have to run through a bunch of people in a restaurant to get stuff done. So I cut off the top. Now I'm going to take my fingers in and you just pull out the seed like that. So it's just pull out motion like so. And the seeds are going to have a little bit of heat. You can leave them or you can not leave them. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to quarter this. That's how you get out of your toppers there. And I'm going to go ahead and slice this in half. And again, we're looking for a more minced So when you're first starting out, just practice the motion. You know how they talk about when you're doing push-ups, about how you have to have the correct form? It's the same thing with cutting. If you have the improper form when you're cutting, and you keep on practicing that, you'll probably end up hurting yourself. And it's just about having your fingers pulled back, not having your thumb overexposed past, and bringing your fingers into a point to guide along. How well you can, how few passes that you run through is how quickly you're able. So this is getting up to 350 degrees. I'm going to go ahead down and turn it down all the way to a 3 because I need it at, I want it to be at a steady 300. And the reason why I'm adjusting my oil so much now is because I need it to be at a consistent 300, because then I'm going to add something that's much colder. So I need to know that when it sets back up, it's going to set at the 300 degree temperature again, and not go like it is now to, like, say a 350. So I'm getting this ready because I want to saute my vegetables here. I'm going to go ahead and pull some oil aside for that. Looking for my avocado oil. Just about a tablespoon or 2 of oil is all you'll need to saute these onions. And I'm going to get more of a couple passes in with this. I'm even tempted to just go ahead and put this through the food processor. It's time to go ahead and pull out my black beans. Those cans because I have my other cutting board stabilizing this cutting board tonight. I always do that to myself. I always open it up to get to the goodness. And I always get that heat blast from the oven right there in my eyes. Still have to practice. So I'll bring this up to the camera here real quick so you can see what I just pulled out. So this was 15 minutes, and note how you see the colors of white here on the tray. Those are where the black beans have split open, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and let those cool off. That's very stabilized, and we're not going to be able to knock that. So we're actually going to want to move it off those cans afterwards. So we're still gaining too much. It is still gaining temperature. Oh, 350 is all the way up to there though. So we're going to go ahead, pull it off the oil. Now I know to move that out before I move it around. Just for a second, and that will help let it cool off a little bit. See, it's already rapidly dropping temperature. And we'll try to hit our mark, again. Ah, it wasn't. It's because it was sitting out. This is one of those dishes this time that I've been doing a lot of easy recipes that you can kind of just throw together. This one's a little bit more of a process, but the process pays off with this one because you have a lot of process, but you're able to freeze it, and these can store for up to 3 months. And you don't have to thaw the black bean patty out. You can just cook it on your griddle frozen. So it becomes really convenient and well worth to do it right. So this is all coming together into a burger, so I'm really going over on my passes. In a lot of my cooking, I'm okay with, I'm not very particular personally about having a well minced or like a diced. I'm okay with a rougher chop because I really do enjoy the vegetable. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of time to come back down. Which is okay. I haven't learned my lesson with that yet, have I? So I turned this actually back down to a 3. And what I've been doing over here is that I've been moving my onions. That way I have less onion, more cutting board. And that helps me get a nice mint. And yeah, I'm very particular about doing these on the wooden cutting board. I just gave the wooden cutting board a really nice oiling though, so I doubt I'd have much flavor sapped into the wood there. So this is where a food processor can save you a lot of work. Having your knife skills is important. If you want to be able to make this anywhere, pick up the knife skills. If you just want to be able to make this stuff at home, rely on the food processor. That's where the payoff lies in with picking up the knife skills. Is if you want to be able to go do this anywhere for 20 bucks, or you can be at home with a food processor. And those seem to be ranging between 400, or excuse me, those seem to be ranging in 40 to 150 to 240. So this is coming down closer to the 300. Put it up to a 3.5 there. Oh, pouring pasta water out. Oh man. Yeah, for those that don't know, pasta water is a great thickener for your soups, and it's like gold. I actually I just had this leftover. I was experimenting with a cream of mushroom casserole. And I forgot what I was saying. Oh yes, and the leftover casserole. It was kind of like this. It was like kind of like a condensed soup. So I made some pasta with it. It had on the second night I had it. The first night I had it over rice, and it was a cream of mushroom condensed soup, and it had a cup of milk in it, a little bit of vegetable broth, green beans, split green beans, and carrots. And then the second night I put pasta into it, and I was able to thicken up the soup into more of a sauce. It became like a white sauce because I added in the pasta water, and it thickened up. Anyway, long story about not throwing out your pasta water there. So those need to just saute for about 5 to 6 minutes. Oh yeah, great. It's got all this. Is it starch? No, it's not starch. Gluten. It has more pasta molecules. So this is still hanging. Don't worry, the temperature will drop, and I think we have it settled right about where we need it. So I'm going to go ahead. Ooh, I still have more onion. A little late on the game for that one. Alright, let's get this stuff rinsed off real quick. So now I had my counters cleaned already. So if I wipe down before I start cooking, lets me do stuff like that and have it not be a problem. Because anything else besides the food costs extra. Alright, 6:54. We got an hour left to go. We're in a good place so far. We have our oil that's going to be settling in here, so I'm getting this ready to show you how I'm going to pat down my fries. Going to use, so I have this, it's I can only describe it as like linen, but it's like tough, it's almost more canvasy feeling tablecloth. And these are specifically just for kitchen use, like these don't go, it's a specific use for these. For mixing with your vegetables, and you clean it with your other food stuff, and then the stuff that you clean with, you have those rags and you clean those separately. That way you're never contaminating in that type of way. Because we never know. We don't know about that type of stuff till like 50 years later. About what we were doing that was just absolutely terrible for us. So what I want to do is I want to lay out these French fries. And I'm picking it up with my hand. That way there's just a little bit of water still left in on this. This is almost too much. So what I'm going to do now, this is an important step for the frying, is we need to dry these out now. Alright. And then we're also going to go ahead and, while our oven's still preheated, we're going to go ahead and take these beans that have been soaking for about 5 hours, 4 hours. They've been soaking for 4 hours. And this is gonna be our vegan black bean burger here. Now I have a smaller tray to work on there. I'm gonna go ahead and drain these. I'm going to go ahead and also rinse them a couple of times too. So they were soaking in water. And now I'm going to rinse it. Dump that water and rinse a couple of times. And if you lose some beans, you lose some beans. It's not the end of the world. Just try not to lose most of them. Alright, the water was coming pretty clear out. I'm going to go ahead. And again, evenly get these out on the tray. Evenly out on the tray. Now, so far about the only now, yep, these are nice and tender. So, it looks like we're going to have a very similar effect already to canned black beans and then just having dried beans. So, here's the dried beans, and we have a nice brown coming up. We're going to set this. We're going to go ahead and check it after 12 minutes. We're not going to go the whole 15. So this has still been climbing a little bit, so we're just going to have to monitor it as we go. It's being a little fuzzy. I'm going to be able to get it to drop down in temperature when I add some potatoes. It'll drop down in temperature. So these are sauteed at this point. Okay. Oh, that's right. I didn't quite figure out how I was going to pull these out, did I? I really don't want to do it single-handedly. Let's see. I'll have to do. Not quite. If I had a metal one of these, that would be perfect. But alas and alas, it just wasn't so today. And we don't always get what you want. Sometimes you get what you need. So I'm going to go ahead and move this to the side here in the bowl if we're going to mix it all in. No need to get any burnt flavor into our black beans. We only want that on the crunchy outside. Ooh, sorry about the extra banging there. I'll go ahead and take that off the heat real quick. Fussy, fussy, fussy. Okay, so I'm going to take some of the drier ones. Now what we're going to do is that instead of plopping them in like that, we're going to take it to the top of the oil and we're going to break the tension of the oil. Oh hey, I do have a basket. You're totally right, I can use that as a basket. So we're going to break the water tension. And this is the first. Now it's important to do this in a deep dish because it's going to bubble up on you. So this is actually closer to the 400 temperature degree. Once the oil heated up, it wasn't messing around. So we're going to manipulate the oil temperature because this is going to reduce the temperature. We want to shoot for more of a 300 degree temperature here on our blanching process. Dropping down. So this first one was a little bit high. We got it down to about 320 degrees now. Ash Artful cleverly reminded me that we are working with a basket here. I can't read it from there, unfortunately. There we go. Oh, and we're right at 300 degrees now. So now I'm actually I'll probably just blanch the rest of these actually in the little fryer, just for the blanching. Because this is just the first. This is the first pass on the French fries, not the second. See, this is why people are like, or you can just get an air fryer. I'm like, yeah. But there's lots of different stuff that you can cook with oil like this from home. So, I'm going to go ahead and commit sin, put that right there real quick. And I need another sheet. Take the towels out. This is fused off, so I'm going to go ahead and take that safety hazard out. So for this process, go ahead and set a timer if you have to. It's just about 2 minutes each time. I want to make sure our oil is back where we need it to be, though.
Listen.
It was okay that it was a little over, but we don't want it to be a little under for this.
I mean,
Let's see. It's a little dinky basket here, but it will do. It'll make it nice and easy.
We have the world against you at all corners.
I'm just doing a couple at a time, and then we'll bring it up to 400 degrees. So 250 and climbing, good. See, now we're going to be able to reset everything.
Running from the drone patrols and cyber asylum guards. Just
And I want these nice and spread out, soaking up the water, oil from the first one. 6 minutes. We're going to go ahead and give a little peek. Looks like they're splitting. Fantastic. Alright, and then I want to go ahead, and while that's coming back up to temp, I want to go ahead and grab the seasoning for this. So we need, let's see, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin and some chili powder. Cumin. I'm also going to use a little bit of steakhouse seasoning here. That helps give it a, it's a popular seasoning at restaurants, so it can help those people that aren't convinced for me eating. They'll be like, oh, this tastes a lot like a steak actually. It's because it uses the same seasoning. Does that say teaspoons? Ah, that does say teaspoon. Ah, I ain't scared of a little cumin. So I went closer to a tablespoon than I did with a teaspoon on this. Let's see. A teaspoon of chili powder. I don't have any other fun. It's just in the spices.
Getaway car is a black Pontiac Trans Am heading southbound on Clark Street.
This is definitely going to taste like a chili here. Just a dash of that. Okay, oh, some garlic powder. Let's see. 375, almost there. This is the first time I'm actually cooking with the oil like this, though. So I too have room for improvement. I've been treated so well by the tail fryer right here that I haven't had to do anything on a larger scale. Alright, so following this recipe, so I just added 1.5 teaspoons of ground cumin, a teaspoon of chili powder, half a teaspoon of garlic powder. We're going to combine that with 2 large eggs, 2 tablespoons of ketchup or mayo or barbecue sauce. For us, we're going to be using the barbecue sauce here. And it's also calling for paprika, which we'll go ahead and throw that in as well. Usually this is just for color. I don't know it much for its flavor. Okay, so after we saute the vegetables, I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. That's almost up to 300 degrees. Slowly but surely, we'll keep on mixing this up. So this is our little seasoning that we got going on here. And that. And then we also need, let's see, it's calling for half a cup of breadcrumbs or oat flour. I'm going to go ahead and use almond flour. Half a cup of almond flour for this. I've been still trying to come back from my defeat with making biscuits. So I tried out biscuits with this almond flour, and I think I didn't quite like them for my biscuits, but I think I'll like them better for my patties. Let's see, half a cup of breadcrumbs. Yep, here we go. So coming right back up to 300 degrees, and just to keep this easy so we don't have to baby it, yeah, just so I can do a couple other things. We'll just do very small batches. That will also help control the temperature of the oil better as well while we're doing other stuff. So I need 2 tablespoons. I'm being cheeky here. I'm measuring out 2 tablespoons because I really don't want to get barbecue sauce on it. So I measured. Forgive me. So only 2 minutes at a time for this. So we're going to go ahead and get these out of the side here. Just a minute or two. It's kind of like it's kind of the sound that you're looking for, actually. So it's just a quick blanch. The real cooking is going to be on the second one when we turn up the oil to 400 degrees. Okay. So what else do I need here? Oh, the 2 eggs. That's right. So tip for the eggs here is that I actually will use a separate bowl. Instead of cracking the egg on the side here, I want to crack it over here. And I just do it over my garbage can. That way the shell goes straight in. Ooh, that one cracked for me. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and beat it up with the fork when we're ready. So this is the hand that's dirty, so just the practice I have is one-handed, and then I'll finagle my fridge door open, and then I'll wash my hands. Good old antibacterial soap. Oof, I need to get those other onions out, or excuse me, those other black beans out. This is where the longer you do it, the more you can do at once. And we're a little bit lower temperature that we need, so we'll give that a quick break. And now go in for it. See, I can be taught. And again, we have a nice little split here. I think the vegan one is going to be a little bit on the rougher side. I think these came out a little bit too dry. So yeah, let's talk about this real quick for a second. So this is the dried beans that we're doing, and we soaked them, and they were soaked enough for a chili. But I think even if this was just 12 minutes, and it's just slightly, I would only do 10 minutes. After soaking them for 4 hours, 10 minutes. Or maybe even 8 minutes is how I would adjust that. So we'll let that cool off over there. And then this is, for our vegetarian version, this is our binder here. So the oil is still coming back up to temperature. We're at 275 right now. So I'm going ahead, I'm mixing the yolk and the white together. I'm going to go ahead and start giving this a little bit of a mix. Whew. And then I'm going to make sure, I'm going to go ahead, add my egg now. Let's see, keep getting told I was wasting when I was cutting anything away. anything with any texture on. Let's see, catching up with the chat here. Meat texture was gross, sounds like the sauce and the spices. Oh yeah, that sauce and the spices can go on anything. That's right. Alright, so now we kind of got our paste base. I'm going to go ahead. And now we're going to incorporate the black bean into this. And you know what? I think this is one of those ones where I'm going to get a glove and really work it in. But I think I'll just have to use a potato masher. So, we always are talking about different tools to use. Different nice kitchen equipment. The kitchen equipment for this time is some disposable gloves for when you need to handle your product. If you're a meat eater too, it's good to have gloves around. That way you can safely handle the product. Make sure all the fries. So I just hit 300 degrees again, which is perfect. We're going to go ahead. What I want to do, now what I really want to do is I actually want to work, it says combine it in the bowl. But I kind of feel like I'm going to be, I'm on the fence about how I want to do this. I do know that I'm going to go ahead and mash my beans here on the pan. So I'm going to go ahead give these a nice little mash. We'll need to pull out those burgers here in a second. Or excuse me, not the burgers, the fries. Just a minute or two. And really try to get all the oil back in there. Weighing out. All of them out. Couple more. And this is a slow process for me because if I was really able to focus and do it all at once, I'd do more fries at once. But we're doing some crazy stuff together. First time making these black beans. I'm going to try and make a vegan version here too. Here in a little bit with those other black beans on those second trays. We're going to have to figure out a way to get the black bean to soften back up. We're at 718. The basket is nice to do it on the first one because, well, I'll be able to just cook all my fries at once when it's at 400 degrees, because instead of just having to scoop a little bit out, I'll be able to scoop all of them out because they'll all be done cooking at the same time. I'm going to go ahead get this black bean mixture added. Put that aside. And keep on repeating the process. Alright, now we got our black beans in on here. Okay. So now we just have to mix the good stuff together. Again, this would be really easy if you had a glove, and then to form the patties with the glove. I'm going to keep on using the same tools I've been working with. Keep on mashing it in. So I'll be able to link the recipes, and it does call for a half cup of feta cheese. I'm going to go ahead and leave that out on this recipe. I do know it's probably acting as a type of binder for the cheese, but I just didn't really like the idea of having feta cheese mixed into this, because I'm going to be frying these, and I know that's part about how they're getting the texture, but I just thought it was weird to be like burning your cheese like that, since it's incorporated through the entire patty. So I'm looking for that pasty color to disappear. I'm looking to get a nice brown throughout here again. And this is actually, this is a lot pastier than I imagined it being, which is okay. We'll still see how it fries. So this is the process again. We're blanching our French fries right now. And our oil temperature is dropped down to 250. So those are going to need a little bit longer. We'll have to turn the heat up a little bit on that. Okay, so we're going to go back to this tray again here. This is where I'm going to go ahead and form some patties. So what I'm going to do to form my patty, let's see. So these almost seem like, they almost look like it's really shiny. You'd think that it's too viscous to form into a patty, but actually picking that up, if I got a patty's worth, it holds its form fairly well. Still 250 degrees. A little bit lower than we need to be. We'll give that a rest for a moment. Alright, we're going to go ahead and retire our masher. We'll actually set it with our other beans here. This is cooled off at this point. And this is, I'm actually excited, because these having a drier texture, we might get a firmer patty out of that batch here. So now we're going to go ahead and form our patties. And what I'm going to do is I'll show you guys actually the whole Monty. We'll do this 100% the right way. You can do this at home. You won't regret it. We're going to get some parchment paper out. And I'm I'm going to just make some cuts real quick. Now if you go into the store, you can buy patty paper. So I'm just going to cut my parchment paper out to size. I'm going to try to do it as evenly. 1, 2, I can get 3 good slices. That one's a little small, these ones will be a little big, it's alright. Yeah, I did it. Alright. So we got 1 parchment. I want 1/4 cup. Quarter cup here. Just heaping 1/4 cup. Well, that was a little bit too ambitious. Okay, so the second time we'll get that perfect. I'm going to take the 1/4 cup down in there and kind of undo my pain here. I'm going to form the patty on the parchment paper here. We're going to take another piece of parchment paper, put it on top. I want to put these in the freezer for a couple minutes. So I'm almost back up to 300 degrees. I'm going to probably have to try a different thermometer. This thing just seems to be... Hey, let me just show you what the magic is. So look, we got a perfectly pressed patty. We're going to do the same thing again. This time though, when we get our heaping 1/4 cup, we're going to be more gentle on bringing it down. That way it's just more nice and plop there, forming our patty. Nice and even. Another piece of parchment paper on top. Transfer it to the tray. And repeat. Got a nice 1/4 cup center. Let's see, and we're on 300 degrees again, and climbing. I'm going to go ahead and start blanching those again. And just making my patties, 1/4 inch cup, 1/4 inch cup at a time. All that mincing now coming together for the final product. Or if you use the food processor, that's okay too. Okay. slightly below 300 degrees. We're still good. Need to be flat though. And we need to make ourselves some more parchment. And then again, if you want to make a lot of these, you can buy what's called patty paper. Now, I'll already be these slices for you here. Fries are ready. To not overstack your plate while you're blanching those. So that if I had a thicker pot, perhaps if I was doing this in a cast iron, I wouldn't have my temperature fluctuating so much. It could also be my thermometer. So those ones will just go for a couple extra minutes. I have about 3 more batches to do of fry blanching. I'm just continuing heaping 1/4 cup. And then after you freeze them on the tray like so, and it looks like we're going to be able to fit 6 very comfortably on a tray. If you're going for the thicker patties, you could probably fit 8 on a tray. After you freeze them, and you can transfer them by stacking the paper on top of each other, and you can hold them in a Ziploc bag. I've got around 3 more burgers to press out here. Trying to find freezer space. But don't fret, we're also going to cook one of those straight fresh. So this is still a little bit dirty, but I'm going to I want to reuse it real quick. I'm going to still put the paper towels. I want to have that be the next tray because I'm already done blanching. Let's see here. A couple more patties to make. And we still have that vegan patty to make as well too, which I have become re-excited for. Let's see, those will need a little bit longer. Again, this is why I have a pair of kitchen scissors. That way I don't have to worry about where those have been, under what couch they've been in. And it looks like I want to make this last one nice and big. We'll really be able to see what this is capable of. Be like a double patty. Mondo! So I have it nice and folded up, and now I'm going to get the size I want by pressing it down. Let me pop up the, Schmookums, we were talking about the black malachite artist on the last show. Unfortunately, the music wasn't, when I had the second camera opened up, it canceled out the music. This is the guy that I was saying adds a production quality that I can't really replace. Like it's a great production value, and I'm really thankful that he lets me use his music without hardly any questions asked. So this is what's playing right now. Boom, 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 up on the top. Oh, I need to fix that. It's not episode 12 anymore. It's episode 13. There we go. And we're cooking. And we're not on the stream. We're doing it all. Okay, so I cleaned this guy out and I'm going to cook with it again. I'm going to put that up to about a 4. And I'm almost done blanching my fries. And also, the thing is that once you have gotten to this step of the blanching process, you can freeze these fries after they've been blanched. And then you can, in fact, that's what we're going to do with some of these, is that we're going to freeze them. And then you only have to, the second time, when we heat our oil up to 400, you can pull out whatever you want out of the bag. And then you just fry it once. So you can do the blanching process one day, and then you can do the actual cooking process a different day. And we have about 2 more batches of fries. We have this pan coming up. And then we have our second black bean patty to make. So, again, I'm going to go ahead and munch these down. So, those really don't want to break up. That was a mistake. That was almost not even on camera though. Okay, so for this, crazy as it sounds, we're going to go to the blender. This is just for the vegan version of the recipe. Let's take a quick look at that. Let's see. We might not have time to do that. It's getting close to 8 o'clock and I do have to go to work. I'm so close though. These need to go through, what I'm thinking is that these need to go through food processor. pan is still coming back up to temperature here, and we'll start cooking our burger patties. So I have a secondary processor that I'm also going to use. I have some onion here, already chopped. And I add in my ingredients up here to the black beans. This is only for one burger, so we don't need to go crazy with the seasonings. I'm also not sure this will work. So this blanching has been sitting more around the 250. That might have been a little bit quick for those ones. It's okay, they'll just be some lighter fries. But we're keeping it at 275, so we're not too below temperature that we need to be. Okay, so I needed that minced. We need a little bit of this bell pepper here. Just a slice here. We're going to let the processor do the rest of the work there. Now's the last. Okay, sweet. That was the last of the fries that we have to blanch. And we'll go ahead and blanch this tray, this hot tray, and in this tray that we've been letting cool, we'll go ahead and put this in a Ziploc for later. Alright, gonna bring it up to the, gonna mute the mic for a minute while I get this blender active. Oh man, I was muted and I was killing it on the mic. I was saying I just poured in these little minces in there, and I was like, oh, there's a little bit of oil in there. That's okay. I'm Bob Ross in it. That's exactly what we need. So we need a little bit of oil for this to help come together. Now this is definitely more than one black bean burger here. We need to get it to bind. And we're going to start cooking our other patties. We're going to start with the small one, and here's how this parchment is going to come back in. So I have the first one. I want to peel it off. Just like that. And I'm going to leave the parchment paper there for a minute. Just for a minute, not too long. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I was trying to be nice. You could, if you wanted this to mix better and you're not scared of really dirtying up your blender, you could mix the sauce in. Need a little bit of cornstarch. And this is just for one patty here. So you know how I was talking about, like, if a recipe calls for a teaspoon of onion, don't use it. Well, that's why I was kind of not saying this recipe out loud, because it kind of calls for a teaspoon of onion. But I'll link where I got all the recipes. So we added in some cornstarch, and we're really going to need to start getting a good mix in here. Now I'm going to go ahead and peel up the patty paper, and I'm just going to cook it like a patty now. Okay, I'm getting this. I need to get this temperature raised up to 400 degrees, and we'll do the actual cook of our fries. Okay. Well, I use this bowl again, so I need to give it a quick rinse. You know what they say, clean as you go, sign of a pro. So I'll very quietly add some water into that. And we need actually a little bit warm water anyway. Okay. And I'm gonna, just for fun, I'm gonna add some Chipotle hot sauce, just because I'm trying to get rid of this hot sauce. This is our little vegan burger that we're trying to throw together real quick. So we're just adding, you can always add, whenever you're experimenting like this, you can always add, but you can never take away. So now we kind of have something that will form. It doesn't have the same binding. You can see how it's more clumped. Definitely doesn't have the same binding as what the egg allows us here to do. We're at 350 degrees and it's still climbing. Once we get to 400, we'll be able to start cooking. our fries. Let's see. So we're still looking, it still should be more of a sticky batter that comes together. I'm almost curious, I wonder if I can process this a bit better, again with the Bamex here. I'm not afraid of making a fool of myself on camera. Let's see how it goes. So that is unfortunate is I'm changing out the blades on the processors. So I'm going to take out the little mincer tool here. Make sure it's locked in place. Alright, I'm going to pray. Yep, exactly where I thought it shoots like that, yeah. So with these black bean ones here, you can get away without a processor. It actually looks really great with how we got the diced onion and the diced pepper here. Looks good. With it binds easily together. But this, we did get the consistency that we're looking for when we added the extra this processor here. Really did the work. The blender just wasn't blendy enough. Mine personally, if you have something like a Ninja blender, you hear me say, clean as you go, sign of a pro. This is one of those tools where you really don't want it to get dirty because it's an odd shape. It's such a pain in the butt. So we were able to get much more of the pasty concoction that we're looking for here. It'll be better to show you. You see, it now all holds its form all together. And I bet this is ready to be flipped here. So this is browned, kind of almost looks like a corned beef hash. If I can get it under the light a little bit better for you here. Almost like a corned beef hash. It breaks apart like a corned beef hash too right now. I wonder, we have some burgers that are freezing. And we're getting up to 350 degrees. We're almost there. Okay, now for our veggie burger here. So this guy, again, he's going to be a bigger guy. And I guess I still want to form it into a cup so I can this helps you get kind of the form of the patty going. So I'm going to have a little bit extra. And then that'll help me be able to get a nice even. So this here is going to be the vegan patty, and I can already tell that it wants to break apart though. This is definitely going to be more like a corned beef hash. It doesn't have the egg, it doesn't have the binder. So I'd also probably think about cooking it at a higher temperature And then also the recipe that I will link did have baby carrot added to it, which would be another great, I think that would also act as a binder. So I'm just waiting for my fries to come up to 400, my fryer to come up to 400 degrees there. I'm gonna have to bust out some dishes here pretty quick. So, let's get this rinsed too. And all that rinse. And this is something that you can just practice. I'm cleaning up my mess before my food is all made and done. By the end of it, it won't even look like anyone was cooking in the kitchen. So, I'm going to go ahead and put, actually, I'm going to still use that stringer basket for my final pull out. Okay, the oil is at 400 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and use these fries. Now I'm going to double check the recipe to make sure it doesn't say something silly like stick these in the freezer. Oh, we can just go straight for it. So again, I'm breaking the water tension for the oil tension and then adding them in. And I'm going to be able to add about three handfuls. So you gotta break the tension, otherwise you'll pop yourself right there. And you just have to break the tension. You can actually get pretty close to the oil. And then this is actually going over 400 degrees right now, so this was a perfect time to add everything in. And these just need to go for about 3 to 4 minutes. I don't need my oven on anymore. Oops, I don't need it to self-clean either. You don't want, this is the part where you don't really want to be dunking them in and dunking them out. You kind of just want to pull out your fries once. Continuing to clean up my mess. Go hardcore on the dishes here real quick. Some other fries to put away here in a minute. Wishy-washy, wishy-washy. It's going to disappear. It's going to be like magic. It's going to be like it never even happened. And voila, I actually already got a bowl back. Which is important because this is going to be where we salt. And then I'm going to go ahead and put these away too. 2 minutes left. I don't have quite the size I wanted, but that's okay. These are our blanched fries. A good practice on the front would be go ahead and put a date on that. That's what it's for there. Try not to get oil on the outside of the bag. And those will have a different day. We'll put those in the freezer. Wonderful. And now I'm going to go ahead and give a good wash of my hands here. So I went for more of an over browning on it. And now here I can just really go and just scoop them out. So this process would be a whole lot quicker. If I was able to just blanch my fries, but I was also prepping my black bean burgers at the same time. So it's really not that daunting cooking with oil. This is one of those things where you shouldn't walk away from the kitchen, especially if you have other beings in the house that could knock this oil over or step in this oil. The dangerous part about here is that you can actually put your fingers in here and you'll burn yourself. It's about what's dangerous isn't it's leaving it on the stove too long and having it ignite, because then you have an oil fire. But the bigger risk is actually it dumping on you and sitting, and it'll burn. It'll give you a 2nd or 3rd degree burn. So, oh, look at that! It even sits so nicely like that. So now I have my fries here in a nice big bowl. Now I'm going to go ahead and while it still has that oil there on it. And this is one of those times where you get to practice doing your flips. See, I dropped one, but it's okay. Just practicing doing my flips. I'm going to add in, and here's the really cool part, is now that we're here at this part with it, I want to add a little bit of oil. So I'm going to take my strainer here, and now I have oiled my other, I now have an oiled surface. I'm going to go ahead, let's go ahead and do this vegan patty. So I'm going to just slap it on. So it broke a little bit on the impact. That got really hot. Put that right there. And then we have another patty. Excess oil on these guys here. These would be great for wiping your cutting board afterwards still, because it's just oil. So if you have a wood cutting board, this is some nice, just ready to use wipes. It's about reducing, reusing, and then recycling. Okay. And then I'm going to keep on with a little bit more oil, just the bottom of my basket. And let it drip onto there. So I already have a patty here made, and it's 806 I gotta get to work soon, so we're gonna go ahead and turn this into the burger that we deserve. So I don't always use lettuce. This time I'm actually going to use spinach to making this burger here. I'm going to get a burger bun. Now some folks do like their buns toasted. I'm going to go ahead and just for time's sake do this raw. So we're going to go ahead, and this is again the vegetarian version, is we're going to keep it nice and quick actually. We're going to use some grated cheese, and then I'm also going to throw, for my tomato, I'm actually going to use a little bit of salsa, I think. I just kind of have the dredges here instead of the tomato. I think this would definitely help with the vegan burger there if it's a little bit too on the drier side. So let's see. I think, because I just have the dredges here, so I'm just taking a little tablespoon. There's my little tomato, and I got a little extra spices. This is going to kind of take away from me being able to taste too much on the burger patty, but I got plenty of burger patties. And I need the knife again. And then what I do with my greens is I kind of just fold them over a couple times. That's the lettuce is what's going to give it its volume, so let me get a little bit more than that. I was just trying to pinch a little bit off. Or I'll throw in some kale. Now they really never know what hit them. Okay. A little cheese for effect, a little bit of mayonnaise. Oh, some pickle. I wonder if I have some relish. Oh, the pickle. So I guess for a burger, it's supposed to have pickle. Pickle is what makes it part of a burger. Who knew? So I got a big old bun. I made small patties, so we'll go ahead and cut this in half. Let's see what we're working with here. Oh, yep, let's just finish getting it all plated up. Let's see. Let's get a good. Bring the camera down. So just a quick little. You can melt the cheese if you want to. We're gonna get in up close and personal here. The full cam transition. I'm gonna rinse off my hands real quick. We'll flip this burger patty too real quick before I get down in there. So yep, it did want to break apart. This doesn't have the binder, and we followed the only thing that we didn't have was the feta cheese included on this. This vegan one that we were following the recipe to, not super impressed with. Also, we had to kind of process it more than I want to for recipes here, with having to use the Bamex there. But let's see how we did here. First, we'll get in. So this burger patty is a little bit on the smaller side. I should have did the bigger boy first. Now the important part, you gotta know what it tastes like. Ooh, that salsa has a little bit of a kick on the end of it. Let's try the French fries. Nice brown color, not burnt. Good crunch. Can't get those out of the oven. Well, and now we have several in the freezer as well. We had the vegetarian, and we'll go over the recipe for the vegetarian. This one turned out very well. Okay, so the vegetarian was my preferred method in making this. And we also used 2 cans of drained black beans, and we put those in the ovens at 325 degrees for 15 minutes. We took a medium-sized yellow onion, finely chopped, and half a bell pepper. We combined this with a teaspoon of chili powder, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin. We used half a cup of almond flour, 2 large eggs, and 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce. Additionally, you can add a half a cup. Oh my goodness. I was saying the vegan one needed the feta cheese. It was the vegetarian. I can't believe the vegan. I was saying the vegan needed the feta cheese for the binder. If I was thinking straight and wasn't so hot, I would have realized that it's vegetarian, not the vegan one. So this one didn't form as well. Yeah, it's all breaking apart. These ones, you get a nice patty that really does, if you've ever made your own meat patties, this really does handle a lot like a meat patty would. And as you can see, you can make them any size that you want here. You can also freeze them and store them for up to 3 months. We're going to go ahead and give this guy a little taste here anyway. Now the other thing is also, as we tried with the vegan one, we took a cup of dried beans and we soaked them for 5 hours. I think if I was going to use dried beans, I would need to soak the beans for at least 24 hours if I was going to use dried beans for the recipe. When we pulled these ones out of the oven, it was just slightly too crisp, but we were able to bring back the consistency. I would actually use the dry beans. I would use this method for the vegetarian because I have the egg yolk binder. I think this would make an excellent black bean patty. With the drier beans, you can also tell that it is it's a little bit easier to tell that it is black bean burger, but it is starting to mimic, like when you chew on a piece of fat, it is starting to mimic that. The crunchiness is actually giving it that effect, interestingly enough. Oh. Overall, not bad. We used the same spices as we did for our vegetarian black bean burger here. We can taste the spices really well. Actually, it's because I used more cumin than I was supposed to. That's what's odd about that one. Alright, so I'm taking that off the burner, and that's our show, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a great time. I'm really happy with these black bean burgers. I got about 6 burgers freezing now. So just a little bit of work went a long way. And also I have the fries to go with this too. So already it only took an hour, and now look at these patties here. They're fully formed, frozen, and a nice little bar, ready to go. These are ready to go in the Ziploc bags as well. Fantastic. This turned out great. You can follow this recipe. I will post the links down right now real quick, because I said that I was going to show you where I got these recipes from. Let's see. Ooh, did I close all that? I did close it all. Oh, shucks. That's a lot of work to get the recipes up. Well, I said I was going to do it. We'll do it real quick. Shouldn't take that long. Just see my big old forehead. And then I gotta get my butt to work. It's gonna be a long, long night. Here we go. The sources. L sources. Into the Twitch. Boom, there is everything. So, if you want to start now, pour this oil. It's still good for another frying or two. And what I recommend is I'm going to let it cool off, and I'm going to pour it actually into the squash jar here. I'm going to need a couple of jars there. It's going to take 4 cups. So it's going to fill up a quart. Now, if I was really smart, I would have held on to my little glass oil. I held on to those glass oil jars, and I was like, I'm never going to use them. Now, as soon as I got rid of them all, I have an immediate use to have a glass one, because I don't want to put any sort of warm oil into the plastic. Because I want to use a funnel, and I want to dump this back in, and then I'll use it again for cooking. Or you can just put it up and away and use it again for another time. Like I said, I keep my fryer up here. Alright everybody, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you're watching after hours on the show, thank you so much for tuning in. Everyone have a great night, and don't be afraid to step up to the kitchen and make something great, something tasty. Everyone have a safe night. Happy Friday. And I'm looking for this button.